Heartbreak is typically synonymous with feelings like grief, sadness, anger, and a profound sense of loss. We think of heartbreak, we think of gut-wrenching, emotionally overwhelming experiences that feel like we may die, like this is just so painful to go through. This powerful emotional experience is something that defies simple categorization. If you've ever lived through it, you don't play with it. It's not a few words and that's it. It's all encompassing of so many different aspects. The emotions that one feels in heartbreak can be overwhelming. It's like a roller coaster. One day you're high and one day you're low. Some days you're in between. These feelings can linger for extended periods of time, or they can change rapidly. Heartbreak is painful. This range of emotions should help you feel more at peace and more comfortable. You're not crazy, you're here. And you technically can feel whatever you want to feel in this moment. Your set of circumstances are very different than the next person. And in some ways, your circumstances are just like the next person. Heartbreak encompasses all kinds of overwhelming emotion. Nonetheless, our knowledge of these emotions help us foster some sense of self-compassion. We're able to look ourselves in the mirror and say, you know what, you're here now, it's okay. We often want to tell people, oh, don't cry about it. Or we feel like there are no emotions. Like, why don't I feel anything right now? Why am I numb? I'm giving you permission to feel what you feel. So here, let's look at a few things that it affects. The emotional impact of heartbreak doesn't just stay in the realm of feelings. It actually can affect us physically. I worked as a nurse, and there is a phenomenon called broken heart syndrome. And it is a stress-induced cardiomyopathy where the heart actually can, like we literally say, he died of a broken heart. I'm not trying to scare you, but it's real. And where I've experienced it is two people that have lived together for their whole life. They're elderly, and then the husband dies. And the next thing you know, the wife comes into the hospital with chest pain and chest pressure, and she passes away. And there are no real signs of how she got there, except for the fact that she died of a broken heart. Our emotions, our feelings can translate into our physical body. We can lose sleep. We can have changes in our patterns of sleep. We can lose our appetite. There is some sort of physiological response to how we feel. They're interconnected. Understanding the mind-body connection in heartbreak underscores the emotional turmoil that we experience. Like, you can actually be here and be sad, so sad that it can physically manifest in your body. You ask me, why are you telling me this? Now I'm super scared. I'm telling you this because you have the power to manage your feelings, to manage your emotion, to express it and get it out of your body so that some of these physiological things don't have to happen all the time. Another way we process heartbreak is on a psychological level. Beyond the emotions, heartbreak can affect our cognitive processes. It affects how we think. We have intrusive thoughts. We have rumination, and that's where we think of these thoughts over and over again. What can I do differently? How could I change the circumstance? How can I get the person back? We rehearse all the positive times. We constantly replay in our minds like a movie over and over and over again what happened to us. This is a psychological effect that can impede how we live our life. Did you know you can think so much about something that you can't function in your daily life? The psychological component of heartbreak is very important. I want to empower you to gain control over your thought life. So we got our emotional life and our feelings. We have our physiological and our physical body. And then we have our mind and the psychology, our brain and our thoughts. And how do we handle those in heartbreak? These are all parts of what's natural and what's necessary. I know for me, my biggest fear in life, I'm gonna tell you this, was having a broken heart. From the time I was young, I mean middle school, I was nervous to go up and talk to a guy because I was afraid I would be rejected. And then the older I got, I just had this thing. Now, you can tell me a number of things that could happen to me. I would say, I don't care about that. Just don't break my heart. And lo and behold, the one thing that I feared the most happened to me twice. It happened to me twice by the same person. That's another story. When I went through a romantic heartbreak, I found myself not eating, not sleeping well, constantly thinking about what could I have done differently to save the relationship. I had intrusive thoughts. I replayed the role. I replayed all of our happy moments, all of our happy times. I cried a lot, sat in silence a lot, stared out the window a lot, felt a lot of feelings, overwhelmed. I wanted to give up. I wanted to be free from the pain of having to go through something that was unbearable. And the moment that I discovered that each of these things work together, I felt more empowered to move forward. You get your mind right, you get your body right, you get your thoughts right, you get your feelings together. You're gonna make it through on the other side. Heartbreak also has a profound effect on our self-identity. Not only do we feel all kinds of ways, our body is responding in all kinds of ways, our thoughts are racing, we now have an issue with our self-identity. When we live with this person or this pet or this relationship, this social group for so long, and now it's gone, who are we without it? Our sense of self is shaken. It's important for us to see this as the perfect space to heal. If you're watching, you're tuning in today and you're saying, wow, I feel exactly like this. I'm glad you're here. We're going to talk about the ways we can move through our emotions, the ways we put our self-identity back together. How do we weave this all? We'll talk about what we do for our physical bodies and how do we keep our thoughts healthy. Here's what I want you to do for homework today. Reflect on the moments that led to heartbreak. What circumstances, what situations happened? Write it out. You can write them down without judgment. Nobody's looking at you. No one's gonna say, well, you're a terrible person. This is between you and you. This is you and you. Write them out. Let's explore them together. And let's also do an inventory of your feelings and experiences. I want you to get a blank sheet of paper or in your journal and do 3 columns. 1 column for psychological, 1 column for physical, and 1 column for emotional. And write under those columns what you've experienced. What kinds of things have happened in your physical body? Write them down. What has happened in your thought life? What recurring thoughts do you get? What are you ruminating on? What keeps playing in your mind? What intrusive thoughts where you're minding your own business and all of a sudden a thought just comes in? What are those thoughts? What feelings do you have on a regular basis? Write them under the emotional category. I give you permission once again to feel all that you're feeling, to go through what you're going through.